Hey everyone, welcome back to Shop Life. We're back at the shop, back to work. So first thing we're going to work on today is the 6 Series. So this is an 87 635 CSI. The one right behind it that was getting stripped that you probably saw in the previous few vlogs, that's an 86 635 CSI. So this one's like completely done, restored. I mean, it looks amazing. There's no tint on the windows. You wouldn't even be able to tell that there's any glass in there. That's how clear it is. But yeah, so we're just going over the whole car. There's a few issues. It's overheating. I'm pretty sure it's because the expansion tank is cracked. So there's just a little bit of air in the system. So we're gonna replace that, fix up that whole cooling system. And then also, I believe the auxiliary fan is not turning on either. So we'll figure out what's going on with that. And just give the whole car a quick look. The owner of this car, he bought it about a year ago. He's probably driven it less than 100, 200 miles. And he just wants, make sure everything is good. It is a factory manual 635 CSI. Those are getting harder and harder to find. So this car is appreciating. So this is like a good investment as far as if you wanted a cool car. This is something that is actually really cool, and the price is just gonna keep going up. It's not gonna go down from here. But yeah, here we have it. I mean, that's pretty much it. We just gotta look over it, see what all it needs.
Perfect.
Alright, so we've got the car on the lift. I can already see a few things that are going on. So the rear shocks have the external reservoirs on here, and they are both leaking pretty bad. I mean, they just cover the whole axle, the trailing arm, everything's pretty much covered. And you can just see it leaking out from the cylinder itself. So that's probably gonna have to be addressed, and by this time I probably need new shocks and struts anyways. As far as the exhaust goes, it's starting to rust out in quite a few spots, and just cracking from hitting or scraping wherever. So that's eventually gonna have to be replaced. That's not a big deal. You can put like a performance exhaust on here. It'll pretty much wake it up a little bit, sound a little bit more aggressive as well. Now, as far as other leaks, there is a leak from the transmission, probably from the output shaft seal. There's also a leak from the rear main seal, or it could just be that oil pan gasket right where it meets the rear main seal. So all that stuff can be addressed whenever we do a clutch on here. Right now the clutch feels fine, so that's not a big deal. Engine mounts, transmission mounts, all that stuff can be replaced at that same time. The front suspension pretty much looks stock for the most part. The sway bar bushings are all shot, but I mean there's not really any clunking or anything going on. So all this stuff is not like completely worn out, but it should be replaced just because of the age. It probably has been replaced before, but it's probably a long time ago. Besides that, brakes and all that, I mean all that's just normal maintenance, nothing out of the ordinary. The power steering. I know the owner told me something with this hose, and I can see that this hose is not the right size for the power steering. So we're gonna figure out what we need to do with that. If we need to change the hose, we'll go ahead and do that as well. The AC compressor has been replaced before, so the AC does work in here. You can see it's like a remanufactured one, but the auxiliary fan does not work, so we're going to figure out what's going on with that. Besides that, everything else looks pretty good. It doesn't look like it's been hit before. There's nothing that's bent or kinked up, so It's a good sign. Everything looks good underneath here. There's no rust. Obviously, it's been a California car for pretty much its entire life. So there's not really too much rust issues with these cars when they're over here. And as you can see by the condition of it, I'm pretty sure it's been garaged for most of its life as well. But yeah, this is an amazing car that does not need much. You can see they've scraped here a few times. These cars are not that low, but in California, apparently they think they're going to be flooding anytime soon. So they build all the ramps to go into the parking lots are like, 2 feet high, which I don't see the point. Even when it rains for half an inch, it starts flash flooding anyway, so they should have just kept it flat. Man. It's all good. These wheels, the guy just put them on because he needed something that's, that he can find, so he just bought these new wheels with new tires. He wants something a little bit more aggressive with the proper offsets, so I'll see what he can use and give him some recommendations as far as what he should put on. So now you can really see the age of the, the whole suspension in the car. So all these are pretty much factory. They've never been replaced. These are like eccentric bolts. If you guys recall, I had a 535 E28 in here about 2-3 months ago, and practically the same issue with all these bushings. The differential bushing on this is actually not too bad. It's not really clunking or anything, so that's not a big deal. This muffler hanger mount is about to break, so when that breaks, this is going to start sagging. So we might want to replace that before that happens. So I'll tell them about that. But like the whole rear subframe, all these bushings, we can literally get all the poly ones. And the poly ones are a lot easier to put in, and they last pretty much the lifetime of the car. A lot of people complain about them squeaking and stuff. I really haven't noticed that much, and I've put them on a lot of the cars. As long as they are lubricated properly, they really shouldn't squeak. And you might have to re-lubricate them like, every couple of years or even every year. But if you use like the copper grease or silicone grease, you should be fine. Alright, so I finished up the 6 Series. It was really clean. The customer already picked it up. I know I said I was going to vlog working on it, but I didn't end up getting a chance to. I've just been so slammed trying to fix up all the cars and to get them back to the customers that it was just going to take too much time. But anyways, what we ended up doing on there was the whole, that heater valve, we repaired that, we actually rebuilt it. We also changed the aux fan switch, did a bunch of other stuff, a lot of electrical stuff as well, just to make sure there was no other issues with the car. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see it later on again when the customer wants to do some more work to it, like the whole suspension and all that. But for now, that's it for that. Now let's just move on and continue on with the day. Alright, so we've got this E39 530i, I believe it's an 03 or 02. Either way, there's the facelift one. It's actually really clean, alpine white, my favorite. Everything is actually intact. Like, it's usually hard to find a car with all the covers on underneath and everything. Everything is still there. We're doing an oil pan gasket on here. It's leaking pretty bad. We're also doing one of the pulleys because they're squealing, and a few other things, engine mounts. If the control arms are bad, we'll probably end up replacing those as well. It's also got a few issues with the tie rods and the boots. We're changing all that out as well. So yeah, we're pretty much gonna fix whatever we find while we're tearing everything apart. Alright, so quick update. I've got the entire oil pan off, started cleaning everything. Here's how everything's looking underneath. So yeah, everything's nice and clean underneath here as well. We're gonna be replacing the engine mounts, tie rods and all that. Also the tie rod boots. One thing that a lot of people, when they do the oil pan gasket, they overlook is you have to put a little bit of gasket maker where the front timing cover meets, and also for the rear main seal plate. Some people actually like to put it all around the whole oil pan gasket, which I usually don't recommend, but I've seen it done both ways, and both ways really there's no issues. The main thing is always clean out all of these holes, especially the ones on the passenger side. Otherwise it might still seep out from there once you replace the gasket, and then you're gonna think that it's still leaking. Alright, so here's the quick update on the E39 for that oil pan gasket. The oil pan gasket, all that's already done. Replace the engine mounts, everything, put the subframe, everything back on. Only thing I'm waiting on, I did also change the tie rods in here, but they ended up sending me the wrong steering rack boots for the tie rods. So I was working on it late last night and I couldn't finish it without those boots. So hopefully they should be here soon. We could put the boots on, put the tie rod back on, and everything should be good to go. Besides that, I just gotta put the airbox back in. I already changed the pulley, also changed the tensioner pulley, and engine mounts, transmission mounts, oil pan gasket, and I just gotta refill the oil. And besides that, there's no other oil leaks on the car. Only thing that could possibly leak would be that power steering, but hopefully it doesn't. We'll see, we'll just monitor it. I mean, there was a lot of residue everywhere, so I just cleaned everything up as best as I could, and we'll see whatever pops up. And then here's the Mustang. If you guys follow my main channel, I actually did a video on this a while back, a couple of videos. So this is my neighbor's Mustang. He has a machine shop right next door. It's a 66 Fastback, and we're doing a whole 2016 Coyote 5.0 swap into it. So here's the progress update. We've had the engine in and out like probably about 10-15 times now, just making final modifications. My neighbor and his son are actually putting all the body together right now, so that way they can send it off to paint. Besides that, drive shafts being made, and yeah. They even got some work done on the interior. They got the seats, so they mounted the whole seat rails, made the back seat work from the actual 2016 Mustang, so they got that to work. Besides that, it has actually started up. We have ran it for a little bit at least. There was no cooling system or anything, but like, you know, all the wiring, all that's done for the most part. Well, it's looked a lot more complete than this, but you know, it's always, whenever you're building something custom like this, you're always doing something, and you do one step forward, 3 steps back. Just because, you know, that you really don't know what to expect, what's gonna fit, what's not gonna fit, especially when you start, you know, changing up components, especially mid-build. You know, you're always gonna find something else that you want to put on. That's that. Alright, so the E39 is finally done, and that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you go check out all of their social media. Everything will be linked down below, and stay tuned for more vlogs.
No beamer when I pull in the sun. Change on me just like Polo the Don. Don't be fronting, girl, you know I'm the one. Number 2 is not an option, and they know they can't stop me. Take off, I can't take no breaks off. I've been working hard.